Oke. Ya, alhamdulillah. Yes. Ki TikTok تخفت كذري حاجة.
إذا كان أبو عصابة نبكة ولا تتقطع سنها ولا تتقطع حوالي منها حوالي
أماريا زاوي أماريا
أنا أتكلم
أماريا رسيكايا أماريا
هو لازم نعرف حاجة أدم أماريا ألو ولا كلا ألو سي كلهم تبدأي مستثنى كأساسا ولا دار ولا مو هي كابتنا تمرقة تبين أبدو تخاخا ولا تتقطع أماريا يهلو مسانا يهلو أكتنيا يهلو إذا كانوا تبدأي إذا كانوا تفكيروا نصحي ممكن تتزارب زحفريو أنا تحت مهير الكاسي مسوى تحكي كتزارب زحفريو نحن كم مرة أنا نوضح حكي نصحي بقعة من الجزء وسط كاسي أبدأ على درجة تتورد إذا زحفريو وتحكي أبدو موتيسي تقدر تتقرب ولا تتقرب بلا تتقرب بسوق تتزارب مسايق هكا تتزارب بسوق تسي تمثل زي كما حجي نصحي نبع لها أكمل درجة زلمة خسرها نبع لها خطوات يوم أغازي يعني يوم تجارب تايلوكا كيف قليلا بين صلاة من النوت تبعها أي تحبرني هم كبرتي بالكاد سبحان الله كيف بهذه بالكاد تجلسي وتحجي سخار دقيقة في فورميشن تزارب كذا تزارب أباها أما لكن أب عمر زاد تزارب أب جماعة تزارب ولكن عمر زاد قال لا تزارب
ولا متجور أنا ملكين أبناء حملان تزاريبا عمر زاز جيجا وسانة وسيدو تهويقو أنا الحمير وأنت الأمير ومن يسمع عنسا أنتوا جروب سي أريدكم جاز ربا أبناء حملان تريدكم أنا عمر زاز تقول أريدكم جاز ربا يلا عنسا متجور أنا سويلي كم زارب زارب أمنا ملكين عمر زاز وسط وسانة جيجا إياه جيجا وسانة ابدأ أمنا ملكي أمنا ملكي شفتي أمنا ملكي نعم يجب عليك نعم ملكي هيدا في الديا صبر هيدا في الديا أمنا ملكي تاي تنتظر بنا كيدا أنا يوغندا أمبسادر كوني نومني أبي يوم زي أي بلد هو كابتن ماركانا صورة أنكو زنبرد دوان السيتي هو أمنا ملكي نايدا كونستيو محبر بدا كونستيو مراحل لما كان تحسمه أنا قال بكالي حساب آمنا مدكين حسابه آمنا مدكين أبناء حمدان يوتيوب كيدكم آمنا مدكين لكم تسحيبكم كما تسألكم مجمع أبون تايرا عمر إزاز وسادا وسانة جيجا وسانة يعني جدا فيلمو أبيو توسانة وسيدوا كباب كندي سبات بمول أم كان تسوي أمي جيجا نعمر إزاز يا لا تجيجا نعمر إزاز نعمر إزاز أنا
حجي ده مسيلكا
أصل عندي
حجي ده مسيلكا
من شيء عامنا ملكي
تنحني صحيح جفتهم شعبياتهم أمور كير قدايتهم قم جيجا انفورميشن حلال جيجا ترى قالوا زي أبو طيارة تبهل
حساب ما زك زاربا كان دي حساب كبرات حوات جروب سي حادث كباكم يدين النملو كيدكم بتحت تليفونكم يوتيوب اتيكم تقال تراي وسيتكم ابزام سايد يبو ويكا تقال قريسكم تامنا ملكي زبراتو قريسكم مزي زربا زبلو زلانا الله يجيبكم امتو علي حسوت يسال مني قصد
الراي ولا انت بلد حجي هذا ابو طيارة خصيصي أنا حجي أبو طيارة المتصل أما زارب يجي ترى هذا لا يمكن أبو طيارة كجر مكة سراوي في جنوب
بالمسؤولية الوطنية والابتعاد عن أي محتوى من شأنه الإضرار بالأمن والمساس بالوحدة. لا الذي
أنا حسب
استمرار جاهزية الجهات المعنية.
نزيم ده هاد قورم. جاب زيركا.
أولوية قصوى داعية الالتزام بالإرشادات الرسمية واستقاء المعلومات من مصادرها المعتمدة. اللهم احفظ بلادنا وأميرنا وشعبنا وكل من يقيم على هذه الأرض الحبيبة ودام الله علينا الامن والسلام. السلام عليكم ورحمه الله.
دعم الله علينا بلا حاجز املاح مسانا بلا
مع كلمة المتحدث الرسمي باسم
دعم الله علينا حاجز املاح علينا.
فاضل جدع.
جزيرة مباشرة جزيرة مباشرة في يوتيوب طق في طق في قناة طق هدم إماراتي مجانين قاعدين يقولوا نحن مواطنين، نحن مقاتلين، نحن مبطلين، ونحن ايش اسمه لكن هم احنا شفناهم يكونوا كلاب.
وبعد الاعتداء الآثم على الكويت من الجانب الإيراني تم تشديد الحراسة والإجراءات الأمنية في المواقع الحيوية
حق هذا نايب حكي
مهام
بحكي
مواقع جديدة
قومودي
وإسناد لوزارة الدفاع ووزارة الداخلية.
وزارة الدفاع، وزارة الدفاع الداخلية، وزارة خارجية، ووزارة
27 موقع من المواقع الحيوية وقام رجال الحرس الوطني صباح اليوم في التعاون
نسوانية، وزارة نسوانية، ووزارة رجالية.
وذلك في إحدى هذه المواقع التي يقوم رجال الحرس الوطني بدعم وإسناد وزارة الدولة فيها.
قاعد يلعب أو
خاصة لدعم وزارة الداخلية ممثلة بالدفاع المدني للتعامل مع بقايا الطائرات المسيرة وشظايا الصواريخ بعد إسقاطها. كذلك نطمن المواطنين والمقيمين بأن القراءات إلى هذه الساعة ضمن المعطيات الطبيعية، وأن مركز للدفاع الكيماوي والرصد الإشعاعي في الحرس الوطني على جاهزية تامة
جدا
الساعة بالتعاون مع وزارتي الدفاع والداخلية ووزارة الصحة من خلال كوادر متخصصة ومعدات وأجهزة متطورة التي تعد الأولى من نوعها في الشرق الأوسط، حيث نقوم في متابعة الحالة الإشعاعية
زرا باي تكبر أبي تبي حل فالذي
عن طريق محطات الرصد البرية والبحرية للأجواء والمياه الإقليمية الكويتية، كما يتم رصد أي مخاطر وتقديم الإنذار المبكر للجهات
حلبة أنا الحين رأيه هدي
من خلال خط ساخن على مدار الساعة. ونؤكد أن سلاح في الحرس الوطني
إيه يا أخلني
جاهزية تامة لتدمير
News outlets reporting on the story and sometimes driving. The Nepo Shah in waiting, Reza Pahlavi, and the other voices from the diaspora egging the Americans and the Israelis on. And, lest we forget, the West Bank, a Palestinian journalist's take on the Israeli settlers and soldiers, and what journalism there is up against. One week into the war that the U.S. and Israel launched against Iran, the casualties now include the Islamic Republic's leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, more than 150 schoolgirls in the southern part of the country, as well as Iran's relationship with the Gulf states and the very notion of international law. The Middle East has been engulfed with missiles crisscrossing in the sky. In Washington, the messaging on this war, the justifications offered, keep changing. Even mainstream media outlets in the U.S., the corporate kind, that have reliably served as tools of public persuasion in previous American wars have been struggling with that. So they focus on the tactics rather than the strategic side of this, the cause. Anti-war voices are almost completely absent. Iranian representation has been skewed. After his repeated promises that he would be America's peace president, Donald Trump has now bombed 8 countries from South America to Africa and the Middle East. And however hard he and his partner in war crimes, Benjamin Netanyahu, spin it, that is a tough contradiction to sell to Americans, let alone the rest of the world.
This is a war in search of a strategy. Eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. Aimed at toppling the regime 1 hour.
It is time to end
Islamic Republic.
Destroy the nuclear program another hour.
We have to prevent Iran from getting nukes.
Creating an Iranian democracy or something, and the other hour. There is no coherent strategy, and you can see that's reflected in the media coverage of it.
Because in the absence of a strategy, how do you frame a coherent message through the news media? Do you try what Donald Trump did and present yourself as the savior of the Iranian people as you rain missiles down on them?
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
That's a tough sell. Or do you take the Israeli approach and hit them with an AI-modified version of Benjamin Netanyahu, telling Iranians in Persian that freedom awaits?
ما شرایط رو برای مردم شجاع ایران فراهم خواهیم کرد تا خود را از زنجیرهای استبداد رها کنند.
But on the messaging, the US and Israel can at least count on this, that many of the messengers in the American media are there to help.
Why is attacking US military bases abroad justified?
Because they are attacking us.
I think that question from the NBC anchor is really the embodiment of how US media can't do a professional and objective job when it comes to foreign policy reporting.
Now Iran is firing missiles at Arab countries. And, I mean, if any other country did that, I think there would be a huge human outcry.
They do a good job on domestic issues. They hold truth to power and question the highest office in the country. But when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, especially in the Middle East, especially with Israel, U.S. mainstream media, the old guards, the gatekeepers, can't do an objective job.
The language which we often see in the Western media, particularly the US, around Iran, is generally framed in a certain way. Iran is Nazi Germany, essentially. This is not to defend the Iranian regime by any means, but the fact is that the majority of people who are being killed at the moment are Iranian civilians. But ultimately, much of the Western press demonise them without even speaking to them. And this was happening before Iran for 2.5 years, genocide in Gaza, Israeli war crime.
The similarities to the Western media's coverage of the Gaza genocide are unmistakable. Take that missile strike on the school in southern Iran that killed more than 160 civilians, most of them schoolgirls aged 7 to 12, and attack the UN called a grave violation of humanitarian law. At the time of this recording, neither the US nor Israel had owned up to that attack, which apparently targeted a nearby barracks of the IRGC, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Because we don't actually know for a fact yet what happened with that school.
The disinformation playbook the Israelis have used in Gaza is now being applied in Iran, and too many Western media outlets have played along.
If this would have happened anywhere else, it would have been on the front cover of every news outlet. And the way that it was reported was that we can't verify what happened.
The reports that this may have been an IRGC missile that fell short need to be taken seriously.
Really touting this lie that the IRGC has somehow done this themselves, and we saw this exact same pattern happen in Gaza. And that is what is really just dizzying, the same lazy, flattened reporting that we saw in Gaza when it comes to the war on Iran.
The coverage has been very skewed, lacks objectivity. It's covered in third person, that it's not clear who attacked it. And it's just unthinkable if a school was attacked, for example, in Israel, or if this was something that Russia had done in Ukraine, the coverage would have been so different. And we see so many examples of this.
Ukrainian officials say as many as 90 people were taking shelter in the school's basement.
It shows the mainstream media industry in the US is in the shadows of the foreign policy apparatus in Washington. And it's not just about Iran today or Israel Gaza. This goes all the way back to, for example, the invasion of Iraq.
And much of the American media frames their coverage around that mentality because war is big business. War sells. War gets eyeballs. And there's a reason why the CBS News and others are pivoting towards a much more hawkish, hardline, pro-Israel, pro-American empire worldview.
This operation, which the Pentagon is calling Epic Fury, is also epically complex. Let's bring in retired Admiral Mark Montgomery, who served 32 years in the Navy as
Many American media see it like a video game. That's how they portray it. From the graphics on the screen to who they speak to interviewing generals, war for them is big business. They love it.
In the battle for American hearts and minds, however, the polls show that Donald Trump is losing, largely because of two questions that plague him. There's one that goes back decades, that Israel is driving U.S. policy. Even Fox News addressed that, lobbing a question at Benjamin Netanyahu, whose chuckling response will have unsettled more Americans than it convinced.
You know, there are people that say, well, the Prime Minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. I want to get your reaction to that.
That's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world.
The other narrative is one of Donald Trump's own making, that he is a peace president who would not start new forever wars.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier.
But Trump knows that once he starts a war, he won't get that much flack from legacy news outlets, since supporting American wars of the past is part of their legacy. The pushback is coming from independent voices online, and they are attracting audiences from both the liberal left and the MAGA right.
You had Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones on the internet yesterday. They're big, huge right-wing posts. They were almost near tears. This is really a disaster for their base.
You're already there saying vote Democrat. What the hell's going on here?
I think you have to vote Democrat at 26, and I'll tell you why.
According to Nick Fuentes, Trump is not doing immigration. He's not standing up to the left, really, and he's basically giving the government to Israel. And you see Marco Rubio in a moment of idiotic candor saying we had to do it because of Israel.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces.
The administration later realized what a flub that was and tried to walk it back, but it was too late.
The pushback that we're seeing is coming from within the Make America Great Again tent, because this isn't what they were sold, right? They were sold that we wouldn't put our troops in harm's way when we know that this is Israel's war.
Our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel.
So Americans are very aware of what is going on here. Unfortunately, you're not hearing from them much on legacy media.
1 week into this war, what sets it apart, even from something as...
Red Bull habani, Red Bull. Red Bull habani.
Horrifying as Israel's genocide on Gaza is the rapid geographical spread of the field of battle. The 8 countries hit since the initial attack on Iran. The more than 1,300 people killed. The key industries from the oil business to shipping to airline travel damaged. With international law already exposed in Gaza, now effectively eviscerated. All in just 7 days. News organizations are stretched to their limits, challenged in ways they haven't been before. And the early returns on the journalism do not look promising.
The big strategy here from the Trump administration is just to dizzy all of us. It is very difficult to understand what is going on because it's so chaotic. But we know what this is about. It's about crippling Iran, its infrastructure, its military, crippling it politically. What the U.S. wants out of Iran is not democracy. The United States wants a client state, like it has in Syria, like it has in Lebanon, like it has in other countries. That's what they want in Iran.
The language that much of the Western press uses is we in the West, even if we launch these wars, we are the innocent bystanders. We're just doing our best. It's not easy. Running an empire is very tiring. You know, give us some slack, please, people. But ultimately, the devils are the Hamas leadership of Gaza, the Iranian leadership. It's deeply racist and unacceptable, but not new.
Staying with Iran, the U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign has exposed some sharp divisions among Iranians, both inside the country and across the diaspora. And on Western news outlets, one side of that divide is being amplified far more than the other. Meenakshi Ravi has been tracking the coverage.
And the skies over Israel exploding again, missiles rolling in from Iran as air defense batteries scramble to intercept. After days of intense US and Israeli strikes on Iranian military targets, Tehran has launched one of its most aggressive retaliatory barrages yet. Sirens erupt across cities. Residents rush for shelters. And seconds later, the sky lights up. Missiles streak towards Tel Aviv and Jerusalem as Iranian forces unleash another wave of attacks. Interceptors launch rapidly, trying to break the incoming barrage before it reaches the ground. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claims to have launched the Khorramshahr missile, which can carry about 2 tons of explosives and has a range of about 3,000 kilometers. The IRGC claims that the missile was used to target the Ben Gurion airport. Israel, on the other hand, has accused Iran of using cluster munitions. These are a form of air-dropped or ground-launched explosive weapons that eject numerous smaller submunitions. These weapons have military value because it can cause damage in a wider area. The battle in the sky has now become a relentless exchange. Iran launches missiles and drones. Israel fires interceptors and responds with airstrikes deep inside Iranian territory. Each round pushes the conflict further to civilians across the region. The warning signs are becoming a daily reality as both sides intensify their operations. The skies over West Asia are turning into one of the most heavily contested battle zones in the world all over again. Bureau Report, WION, World is One. The United States is preparing for a longer and potentially deadlier conflict with Iran as the war enters a new phase. The Pentagon is rushing to rebuild its missile stockpiles, secure billions in new funding, and push defense contractors to rapidly scale up the weapons production.
X Mr. X. How many minutes? 3 hours.
So breaking news, Iran is escalating the war. We're now in day 7, so here's a recap of everything that's happened so far today. First, an Iranian drone was
Travel. Nai magwin nai. Wah.
I was very close to his son. He has 4 sons. None of them has his own house. They are living in the rented house. In spite, for 47 years, he was in a high ranking of the authority in Iran. For 2 terms, he was president of Iran. For several years, or 2 or 3 terms, he was member of the parliament. And for almost 37 years, he was supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. But up to now, none of his son owns any house.
Tonight into China's massive show of force today, the parade of new weapons. China's President Xi, Russia's Vladimir Putin, North Korea's Kim Jong-un, all there together. And exactly what President Trump is now saying about this, acknowledging today he did watch it. And the rare hot mic moment between President Xi and Vladimir Putin. Our Britt Clennett is in Beijing.
Tonight, a defiant show of force. China flexing its military might with its largest ever parade, sending a clear warning to the US it will not be bullied. For the first time, President Xi Jinping standing shoulder to shoulder with Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. China showcasing new weapons, including nuclear missiles experts say could be capable of striking the continental US. Powerful attack drones, including large torpedo-like underwater drones and lasers China calls the most powerful in the world, and 4-legged robot wolves designed to locate mines and hunt down soldiers. All while thousands of troops paraded in perfect unison. When it's already this close to marching soldiers right here in Tiananmen Square in the heart of the Chinese capital. President Trump tonight acknowledging he did what?
I was very close to...
Khamenei's successor was chosen. Who's Mojtaba?
इन दुबई में एक चीज क्या अच्छा लगा, दुबई में जब हमले हो रहे थे, उसके होटल्स वगैरह गिर रहे थे, तो दुबई के जो किंग है उन्होंने कहा
Irán engañó al mundo con aviones de combate falsos y la historia es sorprendente. Israel afirmó que derribaron 2 F-14 Tomcats, pero no eran reales. La mayoría de los países usan modelos inflables para engañar al enemigo. Irán fue más lejos y construyó Dakowis de carcasa dura con piezas de chatarra en una base aérea en Teherán. En los videos, los jets parecen reales, pero las alas están fijas, hay grietas enormes y uno tiene una ala rota. No están listos para el combate. Imágenes satelitales muestran
سعداء سولو زغن فارس سعداء يخلي يحبوا قال يسلم سولو زغن مسلم لا بافريقيا نبرز المعاود
خيبر من عرجها شردة الفرسان والخيالة على كان
وش لا عرب ومن إيران دز حيلة صبونيرو وانا اقول له حسب هات حيلة عرب شنو بداية حيلة ምክንያቱ ኢራን መሳከል እንደዛ ሰላማውያን
हेलो गाइस, आप लोग देख सकते हैं ये गैस के लिए कितनी लंबी लाइन लगी हुई है।
Irán engañó al mundo.
In Dubai में एक चीज
I was very close to his son. He has 4 sons. None of them has his own house. They are living in the rented house.
passport apply kiya
In spite,
من إخوة تدخلنا passport
47 years he was in higher ranking of the Iran. He was president of Iran for several years.
In Dubai में एक चीज क्या
And the skies over Israel exploding again, missiles roaring in from Iran as air defense batteries scramble to intercept. After days of intense US and Israeli strikes on Iranian military targets, Tehran has launched one of its most aggressive retaliatory barrages.
بزح كل الدبل يبلون نحن عاقنا ينفلتكانينا يا ود حاجة عركي اتقن أبت قدس بوتا زعابي أبت قدس بوتا زعابيو أبت بروخ بوتا زعابيو نزا إيرترا تبهال زمسرتو بعقلاو دي وسقل كلهم تداتو كاي ما بيوم أبزاناتنا ولا
زبطاني أذكر غلادس كمان كسجودين أصبح أذكر كانت خبر أما كسجود وقاسم بالله طب سبع كسجودين
هذا حاجة حراي سو قدام شكري لما وده حاجة أي سو قدام قلب كيف لكاني وده حاجة نفسي أي كلا أكاني أنا الحمد لله كاتزا
لا تراي كودو اندادلا أنا قاهم يندلنا أنت محواد بال أنا بيتسبنا النجار
أنا ذا حق ذا ربحي ما أقدر أمثل وطلعين دنيا رضوان هكذا كم نحر كويم برازر إذا حقي برازر يقول لحدار كان كل نجاري
رجع بهلا في الزغدان قال كيرد لغزي بروفايل أنا دقفني سيتحويت فني
دنبرجل سوراي جمرني كومانديس دنبرجن كقادل الكا خطكس وقال كقال يا خيلي خطكس تحسب جنايك إلني حجي